right, hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, and ArenaNet just a few minutes ago released a studio update which has got a lot in it. I have skimmed it briefly and we are going to go over the details now, so let's get started. Greetings, Tyrians! Guild Wars 2's game director Josh Grouch Davis here, and we're back with the latest updates on Guild Wars 2 development. In our March studio update, we confirmed big plans for Guild Wars 2's future, the return of Living Worlds Season 1, which includes a new strike mission and challenge mode, new Cantha explorable zone and story content, Steam launch, regular profession updates, and the next expansion. We also included some updates on ongoing efforts like upgrading the game to DX11 and world restructuring. However, we have a confession to make. While we've been much more transparent about our development priorities over the last year, we must admit that we've been keeping some secrets from you. They're developing Guild Wars Immortal. Let's not even joke about that. On the bright side, you'll learn about a few of them today. Sorry, not sorry. Today's update is hefty, so I've enlisted support from multiple members of the dev team to help relay all the details. We'll be talking about upcoming strike mission reward changes, the work we've been doing to address player pain points, and how we're making raids more accessible, invisible bouncy houses and birthday parties, and our next professions update. Intrigued? Let's dig in. I wonder if the bouncy houses thing is truly, just a joke, because we are coming up on the 10th birthday of the game. For the 9th birthday, the people that got 9-year presents got the cakes that they could summon. It would be kind of funny if they actually had its summonable bouncy houses. End of Dragon strike missions. Hi all, it's Cameron Rich, lead design team for Guild Wars 2. Okay, I want to quickly, before I read this, catch people up who might not do this content. So strike missions, new 10-man instance content, it was added in the Icebrood Saga. How is that different from raids? Honestly, just marketing. Strike missions and raids are not very different, but strike missions are definitely easier than raids, with the exception of the new challenge mode strike missions, which I would say are harder than most, but not all, raids. The strike missions in Icebrood Saga, you can get rewards from each day, so you could do them every day and get the same, quantity, quality of rewards. However, the ones in End of Dragons give not only less rewards, but also once a week. So the number one thing I hope to see in this is that they are addressing that by, specifically the End of Dragons rewards, either make them daily or increase them or both. But there we go. Cameron Rich, lead designer, systems designer for Guild Wars 2. With Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, we've endeavored to expand on the concept of strike missions. One of the biggest changes was the addition of challenge modes. In terms of design intent, normal mode acts as an accessible stepping stone toward more difficult content, whereas challenge mode pushes players to showcase their mastery over the combat system and requires a higher level group coordination. It really is. Again, the challenge mode strike missions, I would say that they are more difficult than half the challenge mode raids. I've only put in about 3 hours into it, but I've been unable to get a kill on challenge mode Canang Overlook with pugs so far. It truly is a challenge. We're happy to report that both the normal and the challenge mode versions of strikes are fulfilling their intended purpose. We've seen a significant increase in the number of players playing strike missions for the very first time, and challenge modes are testing the skill and coordination of our more experienced players, and while life is good, it could be better. Strike mission rewards have been an ongoing topic of community discussion since the release of GW2 End of Dragons, and wouldn't you know it, we've been listening. On June 28th, less than a week away, we'll be taking another pass on the rewards for completing normal and challenge mode strike missions. To start, the amount of gold that can be earned from completing a strike each week will be doubled. Here's the breakdown. Aetherblade Hideout will be 2 gold, challenge mode, additional 2 gold up to 4. Same for Jade Junkyard. Canang in a Harvest Temple, 4 gold, and challenge mode will be 8 total. That's good. So really quickly, let's say I get into, I've mentioned this before, if I get into a group that knows what they're doing and we just do all 4 of the End of Dragons strike missions just back to back to back, even just on normal mode, and we can clear all of them, Aetherblade and Zunlai Jade Junkyard take like 6 minutes. Canang and Harvest Temple take like 12 to 15 minutes. So even if we can clear all of them, the time investment into these two is much higher. Very cool to see this. This is completely fair in my eyes. Weekly challenge mode completions will also reward an antique summoning stone, that ASS, per strike mission. Weekly challenge mode completions will reward 1 ASS per strike mission. So 4? We get 4 antiques then? Additionally, a new high-end reward is being added to challenge mode strike missions, the Imperial Ever Bloom Infusion. There will be 2 ways to obtain it. An account-bound version can be purchased from the strike mission rewards vendor, Zazzle, in Arborstone once you have completed all 4 EOD challenge modes. Completing each challenge mode strike mission will provide chances to obtain an unbound version of the Everbloom Infusion that can be freely traded for a total of 4 chances each week. And I am assuming that this picture right here is said infusion. There's like cherry blossoms going around. That's pretty cool. For any of you who might be completely new to infusions, if you happen to get the tradable one, please know it will probably be worth thousands of gold. Thousands of gold, especially, you know, the first few that drop when they're like super rare. I mean, they're going to stay rare, but when they're more rare, you've got a big thing, a big item to sell on your hands. We've also been making improvements to how we polish these encounters. In early June, we announced that we were delaying the release of Harvest Temple Challenge mode from June 7th to June 28th to give us some additional time to test into the content. Bugs are inevitable in game development, but we want players to feel confident the new strike missions are high quality and stable. We've learned a lot from the last 3 challenge mode releases and have identified several improvements to our development and quality assurance testing processes and how we leverage our internal team of developer playtesters. These are a lot of buzzwords. All of which are being put in place for the Harvest Temple Challenge mode and future releases. Honestly, like, normal Harvest Temple is 11 phases. It's not that bad as long as there's someone experienced there, you know, calling out to the others. Because there's like 1 or 2 things going on at any given time. But for a new player in there, there's a lot to remember. So after seeing Canang Challenge mode, I fear what they're going to put in place for Harvest Temple Challenge mode. We're always looking for ways to improve strike mission experience in Guild Wars 2, and we're committed to supporting the game mode as a core element of endgame PvE. We share the excitement that we've seen in the community for strike missions and look forward to seeing players experience the Harvest Temple Challenge mode on June 28th, so also next week. Now, I'd like to shift gears a bit and talk about some work we're doing to address player pain points. Strengthening the core. Shortly after the release of... Oh, is that a reference to core builds? Shortly after, I was like, my brain was like core. Abdominals. Wait, they don't care about abs. Probably core builds. Oh, okay. After the release of End of Dragons, we've restructured our dev team to support the new initiatives we've been discussing with all of you. Efforts like Living World Season 1, Steam, etc. However, one of our new initiatives wasn't scheduled to start right away, leaving us with a small group of developers that needed something to do. Needed something to do! Sir Bob is idle. Go buff Zaitan. We know that this would be a great opportunity to address some smaller projects that we've been sitting on our backlog, things that would benefit players, veterans and new players alike. Now that the cat is out of the bag, they should have said Char there, we can also give this team the credit for the Special Forces training area and dungeon reward changes that were released on June 7th. Here's a preview of the next set of improvements they're releasing on June 28th. So they recently streamlined all the currencies for dungeons, and at that time, I myself and other Guild Wars 2 content creators mentioned, like, hey, you know, this is them, you know, saying, yes, we know dungeons still exist. Maybe this is the first of many changes. Would be nice. Let's see. Dude, where's my mouse cursor? We're adding a new option to the General Options tab that allows you to choose from 3 cursor contrast modes, off, low, or high. These contrast settings are intended to improve the visibility of your mouse cursor, making it harder to lose track of and easier to find if you do. This should come in handy for areas of the game with a lot of on-screen action, like raids, meta events, world bosses, or World v World. I have multiple times, like, pulled my mouse cursor off the, out of the game window and then to find it and then back in so that I could spot it. For those that may need it right now, there is an plugin that you can get for the game that is like an add-on called YOLO Mouse. The YOLO mouse basically makes your mouse very bright, colorful. You can make it like a big, yellow circle or something like that. I see a lot of big-time content creators that do PvP use it a lot. If you need something like that, know that that is out there. But yeah, this is cool. Definitely looking forward to seeing it. I myself might use it in meta events. Okay, Repair Despair. Prior to 2014, there was a small fee to repair broken armor after players were defeated in battle. So time out there. Yeah, it used to be that you die and you'd have to repair. World of Warcraft had that too for a long time. And the issue was, like, let's say you enjoyed an evening of player versus player. You played a lot of rounds, and your gear got damaged, or World v. World or something. Like, you could have an evening that maybe you had fun, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you lost a lot. I don't know. But it was always kind of tampered by the fact that you then had to pay a massive repair cost at the end. So it's like, I won, but at what cost? So then they changed it to where repairs are free, but you have to periodically visit the anvil and hit the button. So they're doing something with that. We ultimately decided we didn't want to punish players this way, so we removed the cost. However, the chore of repairing broken armor remained, and there's been a mild inconvenience throughout the years. We're happy to report after June 28th, you'll no longer need to repair your armor after being defeated. The mechanic is kaput. Now, my first thought is, what if you just spent thousands of gold on an infinite repair canister? Let's keep reading. We didn't want to melt down Tyria's anvils for scrap, and there's something about hammering on one that gets us pumped for adventuring, After the update, repair canisters and anvils will grant a small bonus to health and defense with a 12-hour duration. The enhancement works in PvE and World v. World, but not PvP. Okay. To anvil or not to anvil, that's totally up for you to decide now. Oh, that's okay. That's pretty cool. So every 12 hours of gameplay, tap on a nearby anvil, get a buff. Okay. Awesome. All right, quality of life. Improving raid accessibility. While raids are exciting endgame content, they have a high barrier to entry and can be difficult to break into. But that doesn't mean that players aren't interested in trying them. In fact, in our regular player surveys, raids are often the top content players say they would like to experience, but for one reason or another haven't been able to. I myself avoided raids for years, up until I got to the point where I was working on my journey to get full legendary gear. And then What are the Rings? Coalescence you can only get from raids. So that's when I made myself go into raids. And I ended up loving it after the first week when I had to learn all the fights. But yeah, there's like homework involved. And a lot of people don't want to do that bit to get past that. Our answer is the Emboldened system, an optional mode that progressively ramps up a player's damage, health, and healing output each time they fail an encounter. Here's how it works. Oh, I'm immediately like, uh-oh, is this going to get abused? Each week, one of the 7 existing raid wings will be set to Emboldened mode. Upon entry, raid members will get their first stack of the Emboldened enhancement, which grants additional health, damage output, and improved healing to aid in their battle against each boss. Upon entry, each time the raid wipes against that boss, they'll receive another stack of Emboldened, granting up to 100% additional health, 50% increased damage, and 50% increased healing output. Upon defeating the boss, the Emboldened stack resets to 1. Emboldened mode is entirely optional, and that for those who prefer the challenge, it can be turned off by visiting the Emboldened moat inside the raid. Okay, deadly encounter mechanics are still deadly, and players still need to respect them, but the system will give new raiders a chance to ease into learning them. Note that when there are some restrictions to this feature. For one, the Emboldened system will be disabled when any challenge mode is activated. Additionally, certain prestigious achievements are not obtainable while under the effects of the Emboldened enhancement, such as Slippery Slubbling, Seamer Was Wrong, Undefeated, down, down, down. We're also making a few changes to the existing Looking for Group categories to create separate spaces for new and experienced players. Looking for Group Training and Looking for Group Experienced. Training runs have a section in LFG now. Oh, that's going to be fantastic. Honestly, to me, that's bigger than the Emboldened thing. We hope these changes encourage players to take their first step in Guild Wars 2 endgame PvE content and join the tight-knit raiding community. If you're new to raids and ready to get started, there are some great guides and resources on the web from our friends over at Snowcrows, Meta Battle, Hardstuck, and Muckluck Labs. Oh my god! Oh, Mom, get the camera! Oh my gosh. I'm giddy. I'm giddy. Oh, I've never been called out by ArenaNet before. That feels good. Like, I know I'm not the only one, but still, that's awesome. Yes, we can help. We can help. We've got all the things. We have all the things. Definitely click on those if you want to get in on those. Back to the patch notes. Back to the patch notes. I'm curious how it said when you wipe on a boss, you get a buff. I kind of wonder, like, can you just like pull and slash GG? And if you can, am I okay with that? Like, because I'm wondering, like, are we going to see people in the group finder, like, you know, LF2 people at Cairn already 5 stacks buffed? You know, like the guy who was just in there GGing repeatedly while he waited on the group to fill. Like, or do you have to get him under 90% health to be able to get the next stack or something like that? I don't know. I'm curious to see how they implement that. Can it be abused? And if it is abused, do they care? Because the whole point is to, you know, ease people into it. I will say there's no mention here that you can't get like legendary raid armor from doing emboldened raids. So yeah, if you've been too scared to go into it, this might be a great opportunity. Okay, know your boundaries. Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood senior game designer Nick Hernandez, and I'm here to talk about an update we're making to story instance boundaries. Instance boundaries are the red outlines around the playable space in story instances. If you've played through the personal story or living world content, I expect you've probably been unceremoniously kicked from an instance for having the audacity to walk just an inch over the boundary. Yeah. What immediately comes to mind there was a story in northern Drizzlewood where you had to escort, I think, Ritlock and a few other Char through the Citadel trying to find Ryland. And during that part, there was like a chunk of the map that was around them that moved with them. And if you were too slow or too fast, it immediately kicked you out and you had to start the whole thing over. Hated that. Unfortunately, this means you'll lose your progress in the instance and have to start over. Frustrating. Yes. To address this, we've applied soft instance boundary tech to existing story instances. If you've played through Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, you've probably seen it in action. With this change, all instances will now push the player back into the acceptable bounds of the instance instead of rudely booting them. Oh, it works like the way the ocean is set up. So, like, if you try to swim from Lion's Arch or Ratasum just down into the ocean, it says, like, a current pushes you back and you just blip backward a little bit. That's cool. That's nice. I think that's really going to be a thing. Because, like, if you've played through the story, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember 1 or 2 times that happened. Very annoying. And then that's kind of the end of it. But there's no reason that new players need to be subjected to that. I think this is a very good thing. Very good quality of life here. Imagine if every story instance took place inside of an invisible bouncy house, only without the associated birthday party clowns or birthday cake. I think like half of adults are afraid of clowns, so that's fine. That about does it for the core updates coming on June 28th, but don't worry, you'll be hearing from us again soon. June Professions Update Preview. Hello, this is Solar, Lead Skills and Balance Designer. I'm here on behalf of the Skills and Balance team with a preview of our upcoming Summer Profession Update on June 28th. Banners, Spotter, and Fury. So quick timeout here for people who might not be caught up on the tidbits of knowledge that they've given us so far. They have said that Warrior Banners in some way, shape, or form are going to be able to give us quickness soon. Ranger Spirits in some way, shape, or form are going to give us alacrity soon. That Elementalists, support Tempest specifically, are going to be able to help more with Boons, and that Heralds would somehow be more useful as well. Those were all scraps of information that they have leaked on the Reddit. Okay. One major goal for this update is for the same build and equipment to work both in and out of organized play. Unique stacking bonuses to attributes, especially precision, have been a problem here. Their existence means that when playing in coordinated groups with Spotter and Banner of Discipline, your crit chance is almost 10% higher than when playing alone. So for people who might not know what about like Spotter is a ranger trait they can take that adds a bit of precision to the people around them. And if you're like, okay, I'm going to get to 70% crit chance, and then my ranger friend Spotter is going to get me to 80, and then the Fury buff will get me to 100. And then let's say that's fine, and then you're in a group without Spotter later on, you only have 90% crit chance, and you see you're doing a lot less damage. So it's like, okay, well, I can't always rely on Spotter, so I'll just get more crit chance. Well, that means less power. That stat has to come from somewhere, or less ferocity. And then when you are in groups with Spotter, it's completely wasted. So this is what they're talking about. We saw an opportunity here to make progress on one of our other long-standing goals, raising the floor on player effectiveness and damage output without further raising the ceiling. In this update, these unique stacking attribute bonuses are being changed to provide boons instead. We're making the critical hit chance from them much more accessible by increasing the critical hit chance bonus from the Fury boon from 20 to 25% in PvE, and by adding an additional 5% critical hit chance to many professions traits in locations easily accessible to power builds. Okay, so that means if you're sitting on 100% crit right now, you may in the future be able to take some of your stat allocation out of precision and put it into ferocity or power in order to get more out of it. More access to key boons. Having high uptime on critical boons is the strongest indicator of success when playing in-group content. Might, Fury, Quickness, and Alacrity all strongly define your ability to successfully tackle challenges in the game. With this update, we're continuing to expand options for several professions and elite specs, creating more Alacrity and Quickness support builds. We've also looked at Fury and Might access across professions and have introduced or increased sources of Might, and we've changed several traits from self-only sources of Fury to now share Fury with allies. This means that damage builds will help maintain uptime on these boons and reduce the burden on support roles. That's kind of cool. A small part of me worries, like, is there going to be any challenge at all to getting all the boons in a group in the future if everybody can do everything? But I do like that last part, because right now, if you've got, for example, like a support mechanist, he's doing like almost all the boons in the party. Same thing with a Tempest, minus like, like 1 or 2, and then the damage dealers don't help in that department at all. So I do like the sound of that last part. A present for each profession. This update is focused on adding or improving skills, traits, or weapons in each profession in a way that introduces new builds to try. It was important to us that there was something to be excited about in this update for every profession. Here is a small selection of what to expect on June 28th. All right, those are very important words that I know someone out there is not going to read. So, small selection. There's probably going to be another blog post with a mountain of text in the near future if I had to guess. Elementalist. Tempest will now be able to provide Alacrity with a rework to the Grandmaster trait Lucid Singularity. Engineer. We've updated multiple rifle weapon skills to better support engineer power damage builds. What? And we've adjusted min and max ranges on several range limited traits, such as aim assisted rocket, high caliber, and no scope, so that there's an effective range in which all of them can function. Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, aim assisted rocket has a minimum range. If you go really close with a rifle to use blunderbuss, which is like a shotgun, the aim assisted rocket can't work anymore. The rifle is like usable in PvP and open world, but in like no high-end PvE content would you use it. It's not that great. So this is really cool. Guardian. We've updated Guardian's Signet skills, including significant improvement to Signet of Resolve. Mesmer. Chronomancers. Do those still exist? Chronomancers will be able to effectively provide either quickness or alacrity based on a Grandmaster trait selection, and do so more easily with increased radius and application methods that are easier to keep up with moving groups. That is awesome. So if you have a Boon Chrono set of gear and you join a group, if whether they need quickness or alacrity, you just swap your Grandmaster trait. I love it. I love it. Necromancer. Updates to Warhorn and the related trait Banshee's Wail will improve the Necromancer's ability to provide healing to allies? They don't need that. Necromancers already have so much. Dude, the support Necro is so strong. If you give it healing too, oh my gosh. Solar, what are you doing? Ranger. Spirit skills have been overhauled to provide boons and allow Rangers to opt in to providing alacrity with the trait Nature's Vengeance. Revenant. Legendary Centaur stance skills and salvation traits have been updated to better support healing rolls, while Herald will now be able to provide quickness to allies with the Draconic Echo trait. Okay. Thief. The Shadow Arts trait line has been updated to provide better support options to synergize with Spectre, as well as updated options for stealth and defensive gameplay. Alright, so they're a little vague there, but they said there's a lot more to come. Warrior banner skills have been overhauled to provide boons. Through deploying banners, an update to Warhorn's charge skill, and the tactics trait Martial Cadence, warriors can provide quickness to allies. We'll be releasing the full profession update notes on Friday, June 24th, that is 2 days, to give you time to comb through them in detail and plan ahead for new updates. Stay tuned for updates on World v World development later this week. Oh boy. All right. Something tells me I'm going to be releasing like a 40-minute video on Friday. Well, whenever it drops, I'll give it to y'all in audio form for those that want it for the drive home. Until next time, that's it for this edition. We'll be back in early to mid-July to share our development roadmap through the end of summer. To those that made it all the way to the end, we salute you, and we look forward to seeing you in-game on June 28th. Thank you for your continued support, Josh, Cam, Nick, Solar, and the Guild Wars 2 team. I'm still so excited about that. I've never been name dropped on there before. Oh, that's awesome. This is great. This is great. So, yeah. Cool things to come. A few things I'm curious about. Often I have like something positive, something negative to say about changes. The biggest negative thing here, like I was briefly where like, oh man, are the infinite repair canisters going to be useless? Nope, they thought of that. The mouse cursor thing, there's options to not use the new change if you don't like it. There are the soft instance boundaries. That's only a good thing. Raid accessibility, the emboldened thing, part of me wonders, like, will this be abused? And also part of me wonders, like, do they care if it gets abused? If they're just like, yeah, if those guys want, it's one wing a week will be an easier time. It would still take a very long time to get, like, legendary with that. But, if they're okay with that, then, all right. Doesn't really hurt anybody else. And like they said, like the challenge modes won't work with emboldened. You can't have both of those things. And then, this change I think this is good. I think this is good. I've been the person to give my group spotter before. I don't miss it. So I think that's fine personally. More people able to provide key boons. I don't think we should have a game where everyone provides everything, because then it's like, what's the point of them even being there? But I do think this is nice. Revenant quickness, warrior quickness, ranger alacrity. There's just like a bit more selection. Because like you look at something like might, and like forget everyone can provide might, and compare that to quickness, which for a very long time it was just like, oh, that's chrono pretty much. Now it's a few more, but it'll be even more very soon. All right. That's it for today. I'll have a link to these in the description down below, just like always. If you've got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns on any of this stuff, let me know, and I'll see y'all in the next video.